immigrant, the ethnographic perspective of being an immigrant in a particular place. I would have, however, loved for somebody, maybe it was Eric, it will be Eric or someone, another person. I'm interested in the relationship between base culture and the migration impulse. In other words, how do people from the north of Nigeria, who have a totally different culture from people from the south of Nigeria, deal with this migration impulse? I would have loved somebody like Eric, who was in the United States, who has met northern Nigerian people and southern Nigerian people, to compare and contrast their migratory experiences. Because I know for a fact that most northerners who go up there find it very difficult to live in a society that has radically different cultural and religious orientations to them. And therefore they are not really eager to integrate, to link up. But southern Nigerians, some of them are. I was in California with a professor, well, not a professor at that time, but with a lecturer from University of Nigeria in Nsukka, Christian Okegbu. That was his name, Christian Okegbu. And we were both Fulbright scholars at University of California, Berkeley. Toward the end of our tenure, I started packing in order to come back to Kano. But he said he wasn't coming back because he even asked his family, his wife and 5 children, to join him. And they were staying in this tiny little flat, really, really tiny. There's only a living room, 1 bedroom, and a small kitchen in the living room. And I asked him, Oga, why are you bringing your family? He said, no, he's not going back to Nigeria. He can't go back and start riding a Volkswagen because he had a Volkswagen Beetle. There was a car called Volkswagen Beetle. That was the car he had. And he said that he cannot come to America as a Fulbright scholar with all the way people are respecting him and then go back to Nsukka and start driving that old jalopy again. So he's going to stay there and make a lot of money. So I find these two contrasting opinions. I want to come back to home. Even my father, my own dad, phoned me and said, Abdullah, don't come back if you get a job. And I said, no, there is no way I can stay here. There is no way, because let's look at the rituals of prayer. As a Muslim, I pray 5 times a day. But the weather in California keeps changing to such an extent that I find myself, instead of praying 5 different times a day, sometimes I pray about 4 prayers all jammed into one. And I felt very, very uncomfortable. It's not something that I can feel sustainable. So I think we would like to get somebody to talk about the perspectives of this identity formation that Eric talked about, the migration influence, the diaspora network. To what extent from people from the north feel that they really want to migrate and integrate, and to what extent people from the south do. Doing that will give us an understanding, clearer understanding of the migration impulse. And then, of course, there are also migrations to the eastern part of the world. We are not looking at that. We only look at people migrating to Europe and America. But here in the north, we have a lot of people migrating to Libya, to Algeria, to Mecca, to Qatar, to Dubai, to all those places. And I have somebody who was a migrant in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and he's very articulate. He said, I asked him if he's willing to share his experiences with us, and he said he's willing to do that. But so I don't know how. So I think Eric has done a very good job of giving us this migration impulse, and he's the first one that I have seen that has empirical, that I was there and this is what happened to me kind of a situation. So
let me allow the others to make their contribution.
Of course. Well
I
done,
think
Eric.
I can't hear you, sir, and I don't think others are hearing you. Okay, so let's kindly allow others to make their contributions.
Yeah,
Then
I finished.
give
I made my
Dr. Eric the chance to address the comments / questions that may come up. Okay, next here, according to my screen, is Professor Tijani, followed by Dr. Sai, and then Professor Okolocha. In that order, please.
Yes, thank you, moderator and director of the Center of Excellence. You see, when you give syllabus to your students every semester in a traditional institution, even at ODL. The second section usually is about learning objectives. And I think I have not got up early hour in vain. I think learning occurred. We have to be objective, irrespective of whatever narratives. Because also objectivity is the hallmark of historical scholarship. Having said that, I am not speaking for Dr. Eric. I think he will respond to your comment, Professor Aneto. Migration impulses, I think, to piggyback with Professor Abdallah, is creative in title. It is what we expect in terms of making or breaking ground in scholarship and intellectualism. When I saw the flyer, and despite my very, very busy schedule with the International Education Week, I said I will try and be there to learn. And I think I've learned. So the creativity in this, in the title, should be encouraged. I see a book to be written. I see a fine journal article to be written if it will pursue some elements that, from experience, by His grace, it will follow. He started off with, personnel development, and he gave examples of illegal migrants. You should look at legal migrants also, because we have the likes of people with scholarship, people with visa that migrated, and the migration impulses also affected them. So you may want to take a look at that, or maybe in your paper you've already alluded to it, but it would be nice for you to look into that example. And even international students. I have in historical context the likes of Nkrumah, the likes of Azikiwe, the likes of Ogunsheye, and so many others. Even Chino Achebe, okay? So that will enrich your paper and your work, which I think a manuscript on this will scale through Routledge or Longman or any of those publishing outfit where you will make extra change every year. You get your royalty, as some of us get. But it takes a lot of work. I also noted here that migration impulses, particularly within the context of personnel, you should look at remittances and the idea of stay put or you return within the context of family. Diaspora network and influences, fine. Cultural disconnect, in what context? Is it, what about resilience when you japa or when you japada, to borrow the Yoruba terms that has become a buzzword for migration? Resilience in terms of returning either to Libya as a Libyan, to Nigeria as a Nigerian. Resilience in terms of you want to make a change, you want to add value. But it's telling you that, wait a minute, you've been gone for a year or two. You do not belong. Okay? You should interrogate that. You probably should also look into what you briefly mentioned, migration police. Police in what context? And give an objective narrative in your work. So that's an interesting dynamics to the issue of migration. Lastly, I love the slide. I think it was about the second to the last slide on integrate. You said integrate situational factors into migration, and you did mention support integration, theory, and policy. I'm interested in the policy part of it, and you know why. All of you should know why. For those who have been following my trajectory. Policy design is something that you can make a huge contribution to knowledge. Given your experience as a TED Fund Morgan postdoctoral fellow, what is contained in that letter of approval from TED Fund? What happened? How do you think you can, what solution, what can you advise the government? And indeed, the policy, the people that work the nitty-gritty, because there will be no perfect situation, no perfect policy. And I'm telling you from the advantage of my position, in the last 3 months, we've had 3 meetings with the Honorable Minister of Education, Nigeria, and the president of Morgan State University and the provost. And then we identify some, areas of improvement to sustain such laudable, opportunity for human capacity development and sustained, lifelong sustained, what do we call it, relationship that is not transactional, that is not just situational, but lifelong. But again, I will commend you for this audacity to come up with a new paradigm in contextualizing the multifaceted nature of migration, of diaspora, etc. And I will round up by telling Professor Abdallah, yes, tiny spaces in California. In 2006, I rejected offer from University of California, Los Angeles, and I decided to go to Morgan. Why? Because that tiny space was costing me 2,000 and something plus, whereas that will be my 2 months rentage in Baltimore. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your submission. So please, Dr. Osai.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, over to you, so that the minister can respond. Thank you. Please, let's take 1 minute each. We have been taking too long a time, and some of us are spoken more than the presenter.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, you are clear. Loud and clear.
Okay. I have first and foremost, I would like to congratulate the presenter of this paper, and then I also pay my humble respect to all the professors in the house, most of all my former Vice Chancellor, Professor Abdallah Uba, for always being with us in academic feasts like this. Thank you, Prof. Your presence usually encourages us a lot. That's just by the way. I have 2 observations that might come as questions. 1, this paper, from the look of the title, seemed to be quite general, but in his presentation, he has narrowed it specifically to African migrants in Europe. So I would advise that if he's focusing specifically on African migrants, because all the negativities of the personnel about migrants focuses more on African migrants. So the paper should be very narrowed down, specifically focusing on African migrants. That's one. Secondly, there is this question of the impression that host countries have of migrants. This is my contribution to this paper. I know of my experience in French Copte University, where Africans themselves do not help matters by not painting their fellow African brother in good light. And such things contribute to the personnel of the African migrant in Europe, whether they will be trusted or not trusted. Because some of these things come from our African brothers. I remember we had a situation where Cameroonians used to paint we African students, especially coming from Nigeria, black. Even at that, those of us who came from the north, they used to look at us as people who don't know anything. And they will even make the society know that we don't know anything until we will be in the class with them, that they see that we are not actually what they have been made to understand about us. So I think this paper should also include how do the predecessor, that is people, les avant-garde, what the French people, those who have been there, Africans who have been there in Europe, what type of impression do they create about fellow African migrants who come later to settle? Some of them, if they have their chance, they will stop us from, other brothers from coming to Europe. So I think, Eric, you can do better, to cover more on the sources of the negative personnel of African migrants. Thank you. I've rested my case, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sai. Yes, thank you for resting your case. So finally, I have a Professor G.K. Okolocha's hand up. Can you please make your contribution, sir? I hope Professor Okolocha can hear me.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are now. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much. Let me quickly join the immediate past speakers at the side in congratulating.
But you can make it louder, sir. You can make it louder.
Yeah, I'm loud enough.
Yes.
I'm loud enough now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I want to quickly join Dr. Sai in congratulating the former Vice Chancellor for tuning in. It's always with us, so I thank him for that. So I have just two comments on the paper that presented. The first is that the presentation is very nice. It's very heuristic because we can use it to understand these impulses can also be used to conceptualize migrant experiences internally in Nigeria. What are the experiences of internal migrants in Nigeria? Let's say Northerner goes to settle in the South, or Easterner settles in Northwest. What are the impulses? So the paper is very heuristic. It can be used to analyze migrant experiences both in Europe, America, and internally. So I think that we should start looking at these contributions as something we can use to conceptualize our experiences internally. Secondly, out of the impulses can actually alter the persona of individuals. But is there a way to find out the relative or comparative strength of each of these impulses? Is one stronger than the other? Or which impulses do we consider to be stronger in the process of changing persona? Then the final comment I want to make is that on this matter of Jakpa, I think we have gone beyond the question of the image of Nigeria, whether we have the false image of what's happening in Europe, or we keep painting bad images of ourselves, bad impressions of ourselves. There's what we call the bright light theory. The bright light theory says that somebody will move to Lagos or to Abuja, irrespective of the fact that he will know he will not find a job there. So when somebody decides to move to London or to New York, whatever, he knows that chances are that he will not find a job there, but he will go anyway, because the bright light theory is a very magnificent pull factor. You want to live wherever you are to a place that's perceived to be better, whether it is real or not. So I think if we're going to really exercise this Jakpa spirit or syndrome, we've got to do a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution. Now we want to hear from the presenter. They had many comments and queries we want him to respond to. Over to you, Dr. Eric.
Okay. Thank you, the chairperson and the director of Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, Professor Gloria Neto. Thank you once again. And then thank you also the professors, all those that ask questions, beginning with my boss, Professor Abdallah Obadamu, and then my own emeritus professor, Godwin Sogolo, and Professor Tijani, and Professor CFO Kolocha, and Dr. Sai, and every other person that listened to my presentation. Thank you for finding out time to come. Sorry, I had challenges with the internet, network. I actually made provision for two sources, trying to move from one to the other, then the thing also didn't work. So I'm sorry, I apologize. And because of that, I didn't hear what the emeritus professor said, but I knew he was speaking. The emeritus, my apologies. I couldn't say anything, but then I'm happy that you came to listen to me and then to give me your support. Thank you so much, sir. And then Professor Abdallah Badamu, thank you also, sir, for coming. And then also for giving me your support. I noted your comments, and particularly where you said it will be important for us to find somebody from the north who will also discuss the experience of northern Nigerians in such a place like America and then other places. Some of them that I know, I will talk to them and see whether they will be able to come to this forum and make presentation, and then share the experience. Maybe I will share my paper with them. The paper is actually written already, but at least not 100%, but 80%. So when I share, the person may read and then see whether he can come up and then do something. And then Professor Tijani is supposed to be our boss in Baltimore while we were on the fellowship. And well, he wanted me to talk about the migration police. Yes, and actually put that there because as I speak, I'm still looking for a better term to capture that, to capture what I mean by migration police. And it has to do with sorry, I wanted to say something. Sorry, let me go back again. When Professor Abdallah spoke, yeah, he talked about his mentoring me, and I must tell you, really, that his influence in me is huge. This paper is an
ethnographic study, ethnography, that's the methodology, so that's what allowed me to share my experience and then the experience of other people. And I wouldn't have learned this method straight from philosophy, but I learned it from him. This is the method that he used to do some of his studies while I work with him, ethnography. And while doing this paper, I was looking for a method. Which method do I use? Then I asked Google, is there ethnographical research in philosophy? Google returned and said yes, that there is ethnographical research in philosophy. And then I said, okay, let me see. So that's the method, that's the influence of the man. So this is about my experience, not completely mine, and that of others, and the things I saw. And then also you now have to merge it with the scholarship to come out with some stuff. So when I say migration police, is because I'm not yet through with the right word or the right expression. Before I publish the paper, I will come out with something, but for the sake of this presentation, I use it. Now, what do I mean by that? And because I also asked a question that is related to this, when he talked about some other Africans who are there before you, who when you come, if they have their way, they don't want you to come. Or you've come, they want to package you back immediately like a kid and send you back to Africa. And, so these are some of the things that we experience. It was supposed to be a very beautiful experience for us, but it wasn't because of this migration policy. No, we had no intention, including Professor Tijani knew one-on-one, personally, that I had no intention of staying in America. I told him, look, my intention, I have lost a lot academically. I want to build myself up here academically within 3 years, So I want to be here and then do that. I need 3 years to do that. The program that brought us would allow us to stay for 5 years. That's the J1 visa. And we got there. There were people from other places, people from India, from China, from Russia in the same university. We met them there. And within 1 year of our stay, we were told, oh, you must leave. Because we first, look, this is embarrassing because we're Nigerians. You can't do this. These guys, we met them, we were leaving them. And we interacted with them. They were our colleagues. How did they do it? They got sponsorship. The next year, if you have another sponsorship, you keep staying, But the Africans or some Nigerians that were there or some person felt, look, you must go. Telling the white people, if these people stay in Nigeria, will suffer heavy brain drain. They must go. You guys do not know. At the time, we were declared persona non grata in Morgan State University. And they shut us down like criminals. I had class to teach. I couldn't access my class because my email had been shut down because we were supposed to be pushed out of America like criminals. It didn't feel good, So, but these are the type of people, my negative migration impulse. This is an example of it. And I don't want to be emotional. I'm too personal about this. So let me not go further. And Professor Tijani also want me to talk about TED Fund fellowship policy. Yes, I've watched the presentation during this center's conference in February, and there was a proposal by somebody who said TED Fund should or may not sponsor more Nigerians to go for this type of fellowship. No. 17 of us went for this fellowship. Out of 17, I think 15 are back to Nigeria. If you ask me, it's a very big success. Very, very big success. You cannot, because of 2 people, say you are going to stop this program. And then, I will also say that this program, we were there for 1 year officially on TETFund sponsorship. If you ask me, if we actually want to engage in cultural immersion, cultural exchange, 1 year is not enough. The first 1 year, we were still grappling with, how to move from where we live to the university. Look, you didn't know any single person, doing that. We are supposed to know the community, know their way of life. That's how Alex de Tocqueville, that's how he was able to write about democracy in America, because somehow he got involved. Now, Chinese, Indians, they know so much about these things. That's why when their own people come, they allow them the maximum 5 years. I'm not asking TETFund to pay for these 5 years. And TETFund actually understood, because TETFund gave us a letter and said, if these people have funding to continue to stay, we will support. But I was shocked that somebody came to the conference and said that letter from TETFund was forged. I was shocked. When he knew exactly who authored that letter, he's a director, he's a big man in TETFund. Accusing us of forging documents. They are supposed to be the facilitator pushing out some information. So short programs, if people, TETFund can say 1 year, we are supporting for 1 year. But if we have capacity, people have capacity to stay for 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, Nigeria will get. I'm telling you massively. When I finished downloading what I got from that program, you will know that this is not what I will gain in 1 year if I had just stayed there and come back without knowing any place, without knowing any person, without even knowing how to take the train. Something as simple as that, how to move around the city, how to, there was no time for that within the first 1 year. And those who left after 1 year, they know they didn't gain this. So it's not just about scholarship, but it's also about cultural. You see things, look at the way this thing is done here. You're supposed to come back with it to your country and then find a way to factor it in. So this will be my advice on policy side of it. Now, Dr. Sai, I get your question, and I agree with you. I agree with you that I lay so much emphasis on African migrants. I agree with you. Maybe I will try to find a way to expand it or to contextualize the topic also, to reduce the topic, flatten it a bit so that it will just be about African migrants. Because like I told you, I did ethnography study, I told you that is what I learned from Professor Abdallah Obadamu. So if I'm doing an ethnographic study, I'm an African. I was mainly in African community in America. These were the people I related more with, and but I understand your point very well. Okay, about host nation impression of Africa. Yeah, you say Africans do not paint themselves in good light, and then the host nations also pick from this. Yes, I understand, and it relates to what I said about the migration police. They want you, just to find a way to divide us, find a way to pay some people back, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I do not know. Professor Okorocha, yes. Yes, Prof, I agree with you. I agree with you. This is the migration impulses that I discussed is not just about inter-country migration. No, it can also be about intra-migration. We can also do that, about what are the impulsive reasons, that make people. Somebody has gone to buy some stuff in Owerri, for instance, and after staying 2 weeks, they say, let me move my business in Owerri and stay there. What are the reasons? Yes, it can be done, And you also want us to be able to somehow measure the relative strength of impulses. Yeah, this is work for maybe scientists, social scientists. I'm a poor philosopher. I'm not sure I'll be able to measure these things. I'm sorry, that's my limitation. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Eric. My first question, I gave you the first one. Classically differentiate between impulses, positive and negative, and migration pull and push factors. I wanted you to start from there because some of us are here, not only the director perhaps, that don't know the classical difference between how you have phrased that, and is that a new concept, or you are going to give it a kind of definition to make it the same, or they are not the same? That was my first question. Please kindly address that before we close.
Okay. Thank you, Director. I think I defined, this is actually my own coinage. Like I told you, I saw your work. I cited you, Aneta and Aneta. I cited you because you discussed what is called factors of migration. You called it drivers of migration in your paper. These impulses are also factors of migration, but they are not the mainstream factors. When people are looking at factors of migration, they're looking at the big picture, like there is famine, there is war, there is hunger, you know, people want to move as a result of that. These are the mainstream factors. Now, I don't want to look at those mainstream factors. There is enough literature on them. My interest is the factors that make a person to decide. You know, a visit to America, for instance, you have been to America 3 times, 4 times. On the 5th one, I saw so many people like that. Oh, I like to stay here. I like to stay here. It's better for my lifestyle. Let me stay here. The amenities here are better. Let me stay. These are reasons. So I call them, I define, I said by migration impulses, I mean the immediate, on-the-spot influences that either propel or repel the transition of a foreigner from a visitor status to a permanent immigrant. On-the-spot influence that either propel, the one that propels you to transit is what I call positive impulses. The ones that propel you, that repel you from staying is what I call negative impulses, you know, migration impulses. This is my coinage. And
okay, thank you. So at least that will be known in your paper, especially, and then, you know, so that it's okay. I now got it, because maybe it's the network. I was like, what you are saying, pull and push seem to, okay. So I'm okay, and I believe others are okay. I don't know, the internet challenge is really much here, but I can see hands up again, and I think my ogas will say I am overspending.
Hello. No, please, I have to attend.
Okay.
I have to say something.
Okay, Professor Benjamin, he has not talked before. Okay, let's allow you. Let's allow you. I think we want to run. Yeah, okay, let's allow.
Thank you very much for allowing me. I have listened carefully from the beginning of this lecture. And first and foremost, I must commend the presenter. And when I saw Emeritus Professor Sogolo, I was expecting also to see his bosom friend, Professor Tenebe, but I don't know whether he's also here. So you talked more also about the positive aspect of migration, but and also the fact that you did not have enough time when you were in America, but you were pushed back within just 1 year. You know, you talked about America, Europe, and then Professor Abdallah also talked about migration of northern Nigerians to the east. But you need to also broaden the perspective to migration in Asia, particularly countries like Japan and then China, where the culture is completely different from Western culture. And then how do Africans, what is the influence of migration to these countries, and where immigration is also very strict? So I'd like you to add that to, particularly Asian migration of professionals and the non-professionals to Asia, both skilled and non-skilled, and then add that to our perspective, and also the ethnographic aspect of a positive cultural exchange by this high level of migration to Asia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If we allow Dr. Eric to answer this question, I want to plead that we should be allowed to also close this session.
In any case, the migration
No, sir.
impulses.
Before you speak, I wanted Dr. Eric to answer the last speaker. Why we, if all of us may want to be speaking, and I felt that since we've had one chance to speak, we may try to close this because I don't know, it's the network is not so okay, and time is of essence too. And I know that you all, including you, sir, always tell me it's so number of hours. It's almost 10 minutes to 2. We can continue this conversation on our platform, like we always advise. We can continue on our CD virtual platform. So over to you, Dr. Eric.
Director, the time you spend speaking.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
Dr.
Director.
Eric. Wait. Dr.
Hello.
Eric, I'll give you a link to 3 important folks from the north that are based in Ohio, in Michigan, and Minnesota. And I discovered they've been in the state like a few more people for at least 20 years. Maybe those are exceptions. So when you do a survey, you can now do, your that is the information. And next week, Friday, some of your colleagues will be speaking at a roundtable. Is a virtual thing. I will share the flyer. Okay. But again, good work. I love what I'm
saying. Okay, ma. Professor Ubi, thank you so much, sir, for your comment. And of course, this academic, we can't do all the research in one paper. So every paper is always limited in scope. But then the director, you have heard it, that there is need to study migration, in Asia, African migration in Asia, and then look at the type of things that our people do there. So this center may do well to sponsor me to go to Asia and then also do this research, Director. You have it there now. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we sponsor you to go to Asia. But like you have said, no single person can finish a study. No matter how good the person is, you leave it for others to continue. So that is, thank God, for all of us, we can take the next level. So you have done your own part. You can also advise that Asia countries should also be studied. You have done your own, especially on to focusing your own life experience in America. So thank you very much. On this note, I think I want to thank you all for finding time to come here for your contributions. And I want to thank the presenter especially because I didn't call him to come and present. He by himself saw me and said, Prof, I want to present on this platform. So that's kudos to him. Others, I have to write them and plead with them, but he came out voluntarily. So I didn't call him to come and present. And I really appreciate it because
sorry, Prof, I also came to you to beg for a chance. So don't forget me.
Who is
by the way, it's not Dr.
Yes, Prof.
It's not Dr. Eric's first time to present. He was one of the pioneers that presented when I was the director, the pioneer director. It's not his first time.
Yes, but in the last 4 years,
a watershed.
He has not come out. He has not come out in the last 4 years. You agree with me? You have been here now as a director, a pioneer director, is over 4 years. So what I mean is that he has not shown up, and I didn't ask him to come. He voluntarily agreed to come and present. At least I have spent 4 years and 2 months here now. I have not heard him come to present, neither did I invite him. So I'm just appreciating his voluntary, representation without anybody coercing him. And he has done a good work. and you all appreciate that he did a good work. So I appreciate his coming. That's what I'm saying. Of course, some people can come 2-3 times, I don't know, but in my own tenure here, nobody has really presented on this platform twice since I started. It's one, and we'll be having series of presenters. I've never repeated anybody's presentation. So maybe that's why I didn't know whether he presented some over 4 years ago, but that's even a long time. So it's good that it's coming up now. So maybe many more who did at the pioneer director's time will now start coming up. Maybe it's time to repeat those people if they are willing. We always make it a free choice. So thank you so much. It's free. Life is free and choice is free. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your coming. Thank you, Emeritus Professor Sogolo and Professor Abdallah Ubadamu. These two people know that I'm always looking forward to their coming because they thrill me with their philosophy arguments. Most times they come and I really enjoy their contributions. Thank you, Professor Tijani, and thank you all the people that are just coming for the first time to talk on this platform. I appreciate you all. And I want to say, just 1 more month to go, and you have a new director. The tenure of this director, of course, is also going to be past tense. And I thank God I'm going to leave in about 5 weeks off finally. And I appreciate how you have all been so supportive in making activities continue and go on this platform. I appreciate you all, and I hope that it will continue. Even when I'm no more the director, I will also find time to log in and be part of it as much as I can. If I'm available, I will try to do that. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Have a blessed day. So on this note, bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.